this video, we're going to talk about the essentials, so setting yourself up to get stuck in with your practice straight away. The first thing we're going to talk about is the massage bed itself, and there's a couple of key things you need in mind before you purchase one. They vary in price, they vary in size, they vary in weight, they vary in portability in terms of how to get them round. So sometimes it's hard to know where to start. I would say the very first option and the good entry-level one is a mobile massage bed. If you don't have a clinic space yet, or you don't know where you're going to be working permanently, then sometimes it's hard to stomach the cost of a more permanent bed, like an electronic or hydraulic one, when you don't know, one, where to put it, two, where you're going to have to move it to, and three, whether or not you're even going to do mobile work or whether you're going to be stationary. In terms of a mobile bed, couple of things that are really important to note. One is if you're going to be moving it and you're going to be doing mobile treatments, then the weight is key. If that bed is 14, 15 kilos, you're going to have to carry that, even if it's just in and out of your car, for example, maybe on and off tubes or trains. Having that weight on one side is not going to be good for your body. And number one thing we emphasize throughout this course is about protecting your body as a massage therapist to ensure your longevity of career. So if you're looking for a mobile bed and you will be moving it around, try to look for something that's less than 10 kilos. That will help ensure that you've got a lighter load if you are moving it around. The next thing to consider with any massage bed, whether mobile or not, is comfort. If you have a massage bed that is very, very firm, they all come with a padding on top, you want to make sure that that is padded and it is nice and springy. The best test of all, if it's possible, is to simply lie on your massage bed. I think it's such an eye-opener to be treated on your own bed, because something that feels comfortable for 5-10 minutes, does it still feel comfortable an hour into a treatment? So if possible, and you have some massage beds available to you, or you've other therapists around that you could go and try, lie on that bed, go and have a treatment, especially if you're looking to make a big investment in terms of a hydraulic or electronic couch. The next thing to consider with your couch is the ability to adjust it, and this is a non-negotiable. Your massage bed needs to be at a height that's right for you, and every person's height, lunge, torso to leg length ratio is different. So if it doesn't allow you to adjust the legs, it's really a no-go and not an option, because you must be able to have your body in the best biomechanical position to protect yourself and be able to give good depth and good palpation throughout a treatment without putting pressure through your body. So it must be adjustable whether or not it's stationary or a mobile bed. In terms of other things to look for, nice to have, is where you have adjustable heads and adjustable ends. Again, it's not a deal breaker with a massage bed. This is where we're getting into those extra criteria that might make you pay a little more for a bed. So for example, with this bed here, I have the ability to elevate the head. So this is really useful. For example, if someone had a chest condition like cystic fibrosis, where they're getting that buildup of fluid in the lungs, sometimes it's more comfortable for them to sit elevated. Also, for example, if you're going to work with pregnant clients, again, you don't want them to be lying flat for long periods of time. So having that ability to elevate, and a lot of mobile beds come with that ability as well, is a really good bonus. But of course, pillows, wedges, bolsters, there's other options to achieve that as well. And nice to have again is that same ability, but for the lower limb. Again, I've rarely ever had to use this. I don't think it's really worth any additional fee, but you will also find beds where you can elevate the legs, which is nice if you want to, when the client is face down, so in prone, you want to be able to elevate their legs to work through their quads. So that's another option, but again, it's not something I've ever had to use. In terms of hydraulics, so this is a hydraulic bed here. So once it's locked, it's nice and stable, but I have a pump which allows me to adjust its height. Easily by lifting the bottom pedal, I can then reduce its height as well. Electronic beds provide the same ability, so again you've that ability to go up and down mid-treatment, whereas with a mobile bed, it's really important that you get your bed height for your customer before a treatment, because you won't be changing it during the treatment. So that's a really nice benefit of having a hydraulic bed, but that's where we're going from circa £100, £150 for a mobile bed, up to £800–900 for a hydraulic or electrical bed. In terms of an electronic bed, you have to bear in mind that the lead itself is a trip hazard, so you do need to plug it and unplug it in terms of safety between treatments. So yes, you can put it up and down during the treatment, but again, you need to plug it in and unplug it so it doesn't create a trip hazard to yourself or your client. Also hydraulics, yes, you can service them. I just find, especially from talking to other therapists, that they tend to need less servicing and they break down less often than an electronic one. Next up in terms of equipment are towels. And when I say towels, that covers everything from couch covers, sheets, what you're going to use to robe your clients and maintain privacy. And also to cover your bed. So first up is a couch cover. Okay, so couch covers I highly recommend to therapists. And these are generally towels. You can get disposable paper ones as well. What's really important when you're purchasing one is it must have a face hole. If your bed, which it should, that's another must for your bed, is have a face hole so that your client can keep a neutral spine when they're lying face down in a prone position. The advantage of a couch cover is one, mostly comfort for your client. So couch beds are generally an artificial kind of PVC type fake leather. And when you put a towel on top of that, it becomes really, really slippy. So it all starts out quite well, your client gets on the bed. When you get to turning your client, the towel can slip off, then they're touching the bed, which is cold and uncomfortable. They can then stick to the bed if the towel's not under them properly, and it just makes the whole thing a little bit of a faff. I know as being a client and having had treatment where there's no couch cover, it's just, when it comes to moving, never as smooth and never as comfortable as when you have a towel on top of your couch cover. It just means more comfortable, less movement and less faff at those times during your treatment. So couch covers, really, really useful and worth the investment. Again, they're generally made of a towel-like material. But you can get disposable ones which are paper, which again you can then place a towel on top of to make more comfortable for your client. The other benefit of paper is again better for the environment, it's recyclable, whereas with washing all these towels we really leave a footprint on the planet as therapists. Next up is what you're actually going to use for the client, and that's when we come to towels or sheets. Okay? What you'll certainly need is a towel for under the client and a towel on top of the client. So for each client you need a minimum of 2 towels or sheets. So if we look at towels, first thing that is critical is towel size, and you will see that as soon as you do your first treatment. You are going to have clients who are 4'10" and you might have a client who's 6'10", and you want to ensure that that towel covers the length of that bed so that your client isn't in contact with the bed itself, which can be cold and get quite sticky and uncomfortable when your skin is in contact with it. So you want to be going for bath towels, the biggest towel in the range that they're looking at. The next thing to consider if you want towels is, yes, they're really comfortable, but 2, they really take a long time to wash and dry. So if you don't have a tumble dryer, you might look to find a laundry who can wash and dry them for you, because no one likes to lie on a crusty, crunchy towel. So you want to ensure that your towels are nice and soft if you're using them. A big tip is, if you are getting towels, avoid luxury towels. I remember popping down to Costco on the first weekend of my first course and buying these gorgeous, thick Egyptian cotton luxury towels. and I mean they took 3 goes in the tumble dryer to get dry. So they were a total nightmare, a total time waster, and totally killing the environment. So if you're going for towels, I would go with the lightest ones you can get so that they dry quickly without taking too much time in the tumble dryer. And I think that leads us quite nicely on to the benefit of using a sheet. Okay, so using sheets, and you can get ex-hotel sheets that are a really high grade cotton thread count so that they feel really nice on the skin, and they're, you know, thick and have good coverage as well. So a big benefit of the sheets is 1, they're really cool in summer, 2, they wash and dry really easily, and 3, they're generally less expensive. As I said, you can go out there and get ex-hotel sheets quite cheaply, pop to IKEA and get some sheets as well. They can just be a little unwieldy if they're rather large, so you need to make sure if you're using sheets that you have them folded so that it's quite easy for you to fold them out and onto your client so that they're not draping on the floor and creating a trip hazard for you as the therapist. So again, you'd need 1 for the bottom and 1 for the top of each client that you have. If in winter you find it's quite cold, I often will place a towel on top of the sheet so that they still get that warmth, even though it's the towel that's in contact, or the sheet that's in contact with their skin. In terms of other towels that you will need, you often need a couple of little towels, so more of a hand towel sized towel for your clients. 1 is to cover the face hole, and I'll show you how to do that in a later video. Because it's quite uncomfortable if you're sitting in a face hole for a long period of time with pressure going through it. 1, you get a mark around your face, and 2, it's just not very comfortable. And a big part of what we're doing is trying to get our clients to move from that overactive sympathetic nervous system into the calmer parasympathetic state. So we want them to be as comfortable as possible for the treatment. We often use these kind of hand towel sized towels as well for bolstering, so under shoulders and things like that. So always have lots of little towels available in your clinic, because there might be times where you're using 3 for every client, but at a minimum you're going to be using 1 per client. In terms of towels, other options that are out there are microfiber towels, and you're seeing more and more of these in the large bath towel sizes, which are really good because you get that softness on the skin, or less cold than a sheet maybe, but because they're thin, they're designed to dry really quickly. So again, leaving less of a footprint on the planet. And I also find they air dry without that crustiness that you get with a towel. So definitely worth playing around with towels, sheets, microfiber towels before you invest in a large number of these for your clinic at the end of the course. Finally, we come on to pillowcases. So you'll be using pillowcases and pillows, or potentially bolsters, to support your client during treatment. So if you're using pillows, then obviously you need pillowcases for your client as well. So that's 2 for each client, or bolster covers if you use bolsters. We'll talk about the difference between pillows and bolsters in a later module as well. Another option with pillowcases is, again, paper disposable ones. Again, it seems wasteful, you're throwing those away with every client, but again, they can be recycled, they're biodegradable, and you can often buy ones that are already recycled and then recycle them forward. So you just need to weigh up what you want to do as a client, marrying convenience with the environment and what you want to do for your clinic. So hygiene. This is one of the most important things to protect yourself as well as your clients. So clinic essentials are some medical wipes. They need to be able to kill the germs and to do so quickly. So you need those wipes for your hands, for the beds, for your tools, and also for cleaning around your clinic. So cleaning door handles, anything that you touch when you've been in contact with the client's skin. So getting a high grade medical, I use Clinell wipes, but I mean, you know, feel free to use what you like. I just buy these because I can buy them in packs of 200. They're used in the hospitals, and I know they're killing everything from hepatitis, MRSA, you name it, they're killing it. So probably not great for my health, but at least I know I'm protecting myself from any cross-contamination. Also, having some hand sanitizing gel is fantastic. If you have a sink in your room, fantastic. Even then, you can use a wipe or some sanitizing gel to clean your hands before touching the taps, and then wash your hands elbows, right up the arm, because we will be using the whole arm as an applicator for massage. So it's not just about your hands, it's about really cleaning thoroughly after every client. If you don't have a sink within your room and you're exiting the room to go to a toilet or bathroom, then it's really important that you do have wipes, sanitizing gel there so that you're not spreading germs through the doorways and things that you need to pass through. Also really important for cleaning the bed, and we'll go through that in our preparing the bed part of the module. The next thing in terms of hygiene is when it comes to lotions. So if you're using pump lotions, each part of the lotion is clean and it's only going to be used for that client, which is great. If you're using waxes or balms, something that comes in a big container, no pump, then it's really important that you're not spreading germs through that lotion. So if your hand is clean and touches that lotion, that's fair enough. There's no double dipping. So once you've touched a client, you can't go back into that tub. So what we recommend to clients is having a way that you can take some wax or oil or whatever it is you're using, if it's a solid coconut oil, for example, and I usually order these wooden spatulas. They're really cheap. Again, they're, biodegradable, good for the environment. I can then take the amount of wax that I need for a client and then either place that on my arm if that's how I work, so from arm to body, or I will decipher this into a reusable plastic pot, which then has to be sterilized after each client. Or you can get little disposable sauce pots, kind of 1 ounce size, which again are paper and recyclable as well. So you can decipher from the wax pot into those, and you can ensure that your pot of wax, oil or balm isn't getting cross-contaminated between clients. The next thing in terms of hygiene that we need to talk about is your towels themselves. Okay, so anything that comes into contact with the client's skin must be disposed of with that client when that client is finished. So you need fresh towels for every client that you see. Fresh towels, fresh little towels, fresh couch covers. So that brings me on to couch roll, which we'll talk about in preparing the bed. Okay, so couch roll. What is the point of couch roll? Should you buy couch roll? Often it's a question that we're asked. So what I would say is we were taught to use couch roll actually when I trained. It does look really professional. When you walk into the room, it looks nice, crisp and clean. So I'll demo that in preparing the bed. But it doesn't actually do anything when it comes to hygiene. If you use it, and you'll get a chance to use it on the course, you will see that halfway through the treatment, it's generally just a shredded mess of paper that you have to clean up. It can also stick to the client, which gets awkward when they turn. So generally it's a bit of a pain, and it absolutely will not stop your client touching the towels, touching the couch covers. So therefore you must rewash all of those towels and get new ones for your next client regardless. So it is an option, it's biodegradable, it's recyclable, and it's generally made of recycled fibres, but it's an additional cost that actually will make your bed maybe look cleaner, more professional, but actually doesn't add anything to your treatment. So it really doesn't help with regards to hygiene, so certainly that's not a reason to bring couch roll into your clinic. Massage mediums. So we don't want to create friction on the skin of our clients as we go through the various strokes of our massage. So it's important that we use a medium that will allow us to, one, connect and palpate the tissue, so to be able to really feel what's going on, and two, to be able to maneuver and manipulate those tissues with our various strokes, ensuring that we don't irritate our clients, we don't cause friction, but that we're still able to have enough control to get depth and be specific. So there are various mediums out there, from lotions, oils, waxes, balms. This is just an overview to give you an understanding of each, some of the pros and cons, to help you understand what you might like to try and play with to find the medium that works for you. So first up, we probably have oils, so massage oils. I've never used an oil. For me, permanently, it's too wet. Previously, it's too wet. But oils are a good entry-level medium. So they add a lot of glide. They are generally inexpensive, they feel quite nice on the skin, they're quite hydrating. And for me personally, I find I don't get enough grip as I'm doing specific work when I use them. In terms of oils available, there are lots out there, from nut oils, almond oil, fractionated coconut oil, sunflower oil, lots of things out there. One thing you need to consider is allergens. So, for example, if you're using nut oils in your clinic and one of your clients has a nut allergy, what risk does that play on that client? So one, ensuring you don't use it on the client, but also understanding the level of their allergy and what you need to do to ensure there's no contamination for that client with an allergen. So lots of different oils out there, as I said, rapeseed oil, sunflower oil, as well as nut oils, things like almond oil, that can be used for massage. Somewhere halfway between the oil and the wax, we have solid oils like a coconut oil. As I said, you can get fractionated coconut oil that is more liquid and more wet. But in terms of a coconut oil, when I did use an oil, I would use coconut oil. I find that it's a little bit more grippy than a traditional wet oil. So it gives me that balance of being smooth, easy to spread onto the client's skin, but I still have a bit of a grip when I'm manipulating the client's tissues. Again though, if someone has a nut allergy, you need to understand if coconut falls into that and have another option available. We then have a massage lotion, so again, a great variety out there. Things to consider is one, again, it's its consistency. How wet is it? Is there too much slide and glide and not enough grip for you to really lock into tissues or to pick up tissues, which will make more sense as we get into the various techniques that you'll want an element of grip or to be able to do that. Lots of different lotions out there, different consistencies, different effects. Again, understand the contents of your lotion. If your lotion contains nuts, then again, you need to have another hypoallergenic option there if you do have any nut allergy sufferers as clients. When I do have a lotion in my clinic, because I generally have 2 to 3 mediums in my clinic, I will always ensure that it's hypoallergenic. You also need to consider what the ingredients are for you. At the end of the day, your hands are going to be in this lotion all day long. You want to be really conscious of what you're absorbing through any lotion that you are using or any medium at all. So I always think trying to keep it as natural as possible is good for you. But obviously, if there's allergens in that natural option, then you may look at a synthetic option as well. There are also balms, which are somewhere halfway between a wax and a lotion, and they're really just thicker, so it's a thicker consistency. Again, gives really good grip. Really good grip. They tend to be more expensive than lotions and waxes, as they're somewhere in the middle, but again, they're another really good option to explore. So nice and grippy and really useful for picking up the tissues. Then we come to waxes. Wax I probably use the most because I do a lot of slow, specific work and facial work. I find it gives me the best grip. Again, lots of different wax options out there, from vegan waxes through to bee waxes, waxes that are nut-based as well. So again, you must ensure you know the ingredients of the products that you are using. In terms of waxes, we talked about this in hygiene. If you're using a tub, you need a way to siphon off that wax without double dipping and cross-contamination. And again, it's much thicker, it gives you good grip. But what I do find waxes not so good at is if you have clients with very thick hair. Sometimes you start to pull on that hair and cause friction, and you can cause some irritation of the hair follicle. So again, it's about having a number of options. I might use wax for 90% of my clients. I make sure it's hypoallergenic, it's good for pregnant clients, it's good for me, but there are times when the only thing that will work on a certain client where I can get grip and not irritate their skin is something like a lotion or oil. So again, make sure that you've got several options to try and available in your clinic. The next thing to consider is the journey. So I often find that students like the wetter things like the oils and the lotions at the start because it gives them nice glide, they're able to move nice and fluidly. But as they progress, they find that they need a little bit more grip. So what tends to happen is you realise you need so little of the lotion and oil to do the things you need to do. And sometimes just the oil on someone's skin is enough to give you what you need to do your work. So I think don't become wedded to one medium, be open to it changing, because as your skills and as you add new techniques and new tools, then the medium that you use may change with that as well. An important thing to note, we often get asked about essential oils. And again, you cannot use any raw essential oils on a client unless you're trained in aromatherapy. If an oil blend has been pre-blended, then that's a different case because someone else has blended it with the right expertise to ensure that it's not dangerous for your client. Again, with any of these, you need to understand the ingredients and what the contraindications are. As in a lot of cases, some of the essential oil blends are not suitable, for example, for the pregnant client base. So you just need to understand what's in your ingredients and keep your clients safe. Preparing for your client. So the first step is ensuring that you've got a clean bed and that everything is hygienic for your client. So you're going to take your antibacterial wipes and ensure that you clean any part of the bed that may have come into contamination with another client or even with yourself. So we want to ensure that we especially give that face hole a really good clean. If there's a bar underneath it where people breathe, it becomes quite sticky and can attract a lot of dust and dirt. So you want to ensure that you give it a really good clean. You then want to ensure that you disinfect and clean the whole bed. And ensure that you clean door handles and anything you may have touched in the room before washing your hands. Next step, if you use a couch cover, you want to place that on the bed. If indeed you're using towels, then you want to place one large bath towel on the bed. And again, this is where size is important because you want to ensure it's covering from the base of that face hole right through to the end of the bed so that the client's skin is not in contact with the cold or sticky bed. That's where my preference is to use a couch cover because it will cover the entire bed, ensuring that it's nice and comfortable. Again, ensure that it has a face hole. It's very important our clients can put their head through that face hole and maintain a neutral spine. If you are using a couch cover that has ties underneath, you need to ensure that you tie them and that they don't present as a trip hazard for you or your client. In my case, I simply cut them off because the elastication on the edge of the couch cover ensures that it stays in contact with the bed. Next, I'll demonstrate what you would do with a towel. An option is to put one underneath your client if you do have a couch cover, but then that's just an additional item to wash. But if you don't have a couch cover, you simply place your bath towel at the base of the face hole cover and right down to the end of the bed. Next up, you want to pad around the face hole itself. No one's face is the same size, so it can be quite uncomfortable to sit with your face for any length of time through a hole and have pressure added through the back as we work through the client. So a nice trick is to create a bit of padding. So using a hand towel, you're going to fold it in 3. So 1, 2, so it's now in thirds. Then you're going to place it across at the top of the face hole. And then we're going to create a triangle. So simply folding each side down into a point on the bed, meaning that now as they lie in that face hole, they've got nice padding around the head. Much more comfortable and also stops them getting that ring from the pressure around their face. If they find that irritating or uncomfortable, another option is to simply lie it straight at the top of the face hole cover, and that slight ½ inch of elevation will just lift their face enough off the face hole that they can maintain a neutral spine without direct pressure across the face itself. Next up are your pillows, so ensuring that you have pillowcases for each client. Again, you can use pillowcase covers. You can also use bolsters, as we talked before. The benefit of bolsters are that you don't need covers, you can buy covers because they're very easy to disinfect, like the massage couch itself, between clients and ensure that they're hygienic. Some are more comfortable than others, so again, always ensure you try them before you buy them, and try out both options to see what your preference is. Obviously a lot less washing with the bolsters, and with the pillows, a little bit more comfort, but again, it's down to hygiene and a lot more laundry for you to do. You will generally need 2 pillows or a head pillow and bolster for each client to support them. Sometimes you might even need a third one, but that's for specific populations where you might need additional support. And if we understand what the principles are, this is to support joints. So we want to ensure that those pillows have enough bounce in them and enough support to be able to go under the knees and provide that support. So if it's flat as a pancake, quite a good one for under the head so that we're not pushing it into a lot of flexion, especially if we're working on someone who is quite forward-headed. So I always think a thin pillow for the head is good, but for the feet and knees, we need something with a bit of height, a bit of lift to ensure that it actually gives the support that's needed. And the final step is to ensure that you have a large bath towel to cover your client when they come in. And I'll talk you through in a further module how to towel your client for modesty and also how to towel them on the bed so that you can access each part of the body and your client feels comfortable and covered at all times. Bed height. A really critical element of getting things right for you, the therapist. 1, to protect your body and to ensure that you can be biomechanically sound throughout the treatment. And 2, to ensure that you can get the right depth and pressure for your client, allowing you to also listen to the tissues and ensure that you're not adding too much or too little pressure. So a traditional way of measuring the bed height was to stand beside your bed and to make a closed fist and see where it met the bed. Generally, this doesn't give you the worst outcome in terms of bed height. You can see this one's a little bit low. But in reality, we will be doing all of our treatment in a lunge position or in a squat position. So it's much more effective to measure our bed from this position. Secondly, we need to think about our applicator, so soft arm, soft circle for our basic effleurage strokes. And then the third thing to consider is the depth and height of our client. So a typical client is probably 6 to 7 inches high. So being able to be in my neutral posture, soft applicators with a 6-inch gap from the bed feels about right. And we also need to remember that a client's glutes are much higher than their calves, so we need that ability to come up and come down and be able to maintain biomechanic form. So we need to think of our applicators, soft fists or soft arms, where there will be times when we're on a forearm, times when we're on an elbow. So we need to be able to accommodate all of those positions on the various body sizes. Obviously, especially if you have a static bed where you're not going to be changing it for every client or during a treatment, how do you get a bed height that will allow you to take care of your body throughout the treatment? And I always say it's better to err on being slightly too low than slightly too high. As soon as you have a client who's quite big and you're quite upright, we have now lost that ability to transfer weight. So where will my pressure come from? It becomes a bend. And as soon as we break that connection, then it becomes an upper body push. It's going to take a lot more energy, a lot more effort, and leave you a lot more susceptible to injury. So if the bed is too low, to accommodate that, we simply go into a lower lunge or go into a lower squat where we can maintain strength and also engage our core as we transfer weight. So rule of thumb, Bed height, you want to get into a nice deep lunge, soft circle with the arms, 6 inches height from the bed. And that should get you pretty much there with the ability to come lower and come slightly higher, but still maintaining good form.